Welcome back to Monday Night Live.
The entrepreneur that has been disrupting the lead generation industry.
Introducing your host, Nathaniel Bibby.
LinkedIn marketer of the year. Named Nathaniel Bibby.
Welcome to Monday Night Live. If you're new here, I'm Nathaniel Bibby. Over 500 million in sales for our clients using LinkedIn strategies alone. Monday Night Live is your weekly dose of LinkedIn strategies, marketing tips, and business advice to get you to the next level. Monday night at 6 p.m. Perth time. So drop in the comments and say what's up.
Monday Night Live.
Yeah, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show, Monday Night Live. Drop in the comments, say hello. It was my birthday on the weekend, so it's a very special episode tonight. Wherever you are in the world, might not be night where you are, but drop in the comments, say what's up. Before we get into it tonight, I want to do something a bit different. Because it was my birthday, so I figured what better time to shake things up. So usually on Monday Night Live, we're talking marketing tactics, LinkedIn strategies. We talk about things like funnels and content and all the stuff that builds your business on paper. What I want to do tonight is I want to talk about what builds you. Because no strategy in the world will work if the psychology behind it is broken. Do you know what I'm talking about? I reckon this is the stuff we don't talk about enough in business, the stuff underneath the tactics. So if you're cool with it, type "let's go" into the chat. Go on, type it. I want to see who is ready to go there tonight because it is going to be very different to what you normally see on Monday Night Live. I am well, thanks for asking, and my birthday was fantastic. I had a great time. I actually celebrated the day after my birthday, and we had the paddling pool set up for my daughter, and my cousins came round, and bouncy castle and all sorts of stuff, barbecue. It was brilliant. Thanks for asking. But I'm another year older. I'm 1 year closer to having to get my back checked when I sneeze. I feel like I'm getting old. But anyway, let's get into it. Listen to me for a second, okay? So some of you who are watching this are stuck. And it's not because you picked the wrong niche or because LinkedIn is shadow banning you or because you need a better hook in your videos. Tonight, we're talking about why 98% of businesses get stuck and why your next breakthrough will not come from working harder or posting more, but from changing how you think and who you surround yourself with as well. Welcome, Storm Dawson in the house, representing Perth and Bibby Media Group. This is going to have the biggest impact on you if you pay attention. I know it's different to what we normally go through, but this is where all the growth comes from. Every single time I've leveled up in my life, it's from this area. And the reason I haven't talked about this to date is because of some of the things that we're going to go through today. So I'm a work in progress too. But here's the uncomfortable truth. 20% of business success is mechanics. 20%. Okay. 80% is psychology, because the chokehold of any business, it's its leader, right? So when it comes to driving business success, nothing impacts business success more than the psychology of its leaders. Look, if you're not the business owner or you're not the CEO, you're still a leader. We all are, right? We've all got to take responsibility for our lives. The chokehold on any business is not cash flow, but the business owner's limited psychology and skills. And so normally you hear me talking about the skills, how to get more leads, how to structure your content, how to get more engagement, all that sort of stuff. But tonight, because it was my birthday on the weekend, I'm going to focus on an area which can have a much bigger impact than any of that stuff. Psychology. More specifically, your psychology. We're all leaders, okay? We're all leaders because change starts with you. And look, if you're new here, welcome to Monday Night Live. This is your weekly dose of LinkedIn strategies, marketing moves, and real talk about what's actually going on and what actually working right now in business. And tonight, that means we're going into the area of psychology. My name's Nathaniel, and I'm a founder of Bibby Media Group. It's a company you're going to hear a lot about in the next year. We've helped generate north of 750 million in client sales through LinkedIn. Isn't that wild? Trained over 40,000 professionals. What I'm about to share with you is what I see every day, though. Like, I hear people talking to me about tactics. They say, oh, Nathaniel, I don't have enough leads. Quite often what I see is they've got a psychological issue. And to be honest with you, I've been wanting to talk about this for years, but I've had some of the issues we're going to talk about, showing up, and as an imperfect business owner, I have a bit of imposter syndrome, but I want to talk about it today and I'll explain why in a minute, but let's just focus on you for now. Because like every entrepreneur, they think they're stuck because of like tactics, right? They're trapped in their head. If you ever found yourself doing more work with less momentum, have you ever experienced that? More work, less momentum? So it's not laziness because you're doing more work. It's a mindset trap. The way you think, feel, and react as a business owner or salesperson or marketer, it directly impacts the success or failure of your business. This is to do with your state. I don't know if you guys can notice it, but sometimes I'm in the right state on Monday Night Live. Sometimes I find it very challenging, right? If Monday Night Live is good or if it's shit, it's to do with my state, right? So I do my best to get myself in state. Part of the reason we have like an intro track, it's not just for you guys, but it's to get me in the right state. I'm making sure that I'm standing up straight. I've got postures. I'm doing my breathing exercises. So you can shift your psychological state to maximize your influence and success. And you should do this all the time before sales calls. I want to tell you a story. I'll tell you a story, okay? This will just help, table where we're talking tonight, okay? What we're talking about, okay? All right, so let's go. Okay, I'm taking you back to high school. Now, look, I was a smart kid. I did pretty well in primary school, okay? But by 14, I was completely lost. My parents were getting divorced, right? So this is like the catalyst, I guess. I was acting out, grades were tanking. And when life hits you, like the story that you tell yourself decides what happens next, okay? You're 14 years old, right? So mine was simple. I'm not good enough. Have you ever had that voice in your head, the one that says, you're behind, you're too late, you're too old? I might have that one creeping up soon. You're not qualified. And then every time you win, you think of it like luck. And then one day you figure out you're not really as good as they think you are. And that voice comes in. It's the same voice that stops people posting content, by the way, because they're scared of being judged, right? They're comparing themselves to others. It's the same voice that makes people charge less than they're worth. Over deliver. I'm guilty of this, over delivering, right? And calling it being, I'm just such a generous human being. It's the same voice that kills more potential than failure ever will. And I didn't know it then, but I was building my first limiting belief. Well, the first one that I'm conscious of, because once you buy into the I'm not good enough story, everything you do bends around it. You stop trying because you don't want to confirm the fear that you'll fail anyway. So it's so ironic, right, when you think about it, because you're not even trying, so you're going to fail, guaranteed. But what you're really protecting yourself from is the shame, the guilt, the pain. And here's the thing. That story doesn't go away on its own. You can't bury it under degrees, money, awards, doesn't matter. Because success does not silence the story. It often amplifies it, because you have this thing called the confirmation bias, right? Psychology calls this the confirmation bias. So whatever you believe, you find proof of. If you think you're not enough, you'll see it everywhere. If you think you don't belong, you collect evidence for it every day. If you literally think the economy in Australia is terrible and there's no money anywhere, you'll find evidence of that. I've actually heard a business owner recently say those exact words to me. And at the same time, I hear people saying, isn't it fantastic at the moment? There's so much abundance. If you think you can't win, you'll find a way to lose just to be right. So can you see where this is messing us up? You're not seeing the world as it is. You're seeing it through these goggles, right? Like if I had a pair of sunglasses on right now, let's say, here we go, I got my Ray-Bans here, right? Imagine there was beliefs written right across my sunglasses, right? So, you change your belief, you change your life. Someone who believes they can win, or they are enough, they don't just belong. They were a born leader. They were put here to inspire others and lead their family and make an impact on the world. If those were your beliefs, those are the goggles that I want to wear, right? Don't confuse your path with your destination. Just because it's stormy now doesn't mean that you aren't headed for the sunshine later. Perfection is in living a mistake-free life. It's learning from those mistakes to create the best you. You know, the question I want you to think about tonight is, where in your life are you still running the I'm not good enough story? Because if you don't rewrite it, you'll relive it like in other areas, right? You can't outperform your self-image. I told you we're getting deep, and I'm going to rustle a few cages tonight. Rustle a few feathers. Where did I get rustle a few cages from? Rustle a few feathers. Rustle a few. Yeah, you know what I mean. Look, if deep down you think you're not mentally, then you'll self-sabotage is what I'm getting at, right? If you think you're an imposter, you'll burn out trying to prove that you're not. And that's why you'll see someone with half your skill set overtaking you, because they've reprogrammed the software in their head. Okay. And that's like what I was doing in year 11, right? We were talking about me in high school, right? So by the time I get to year 11, I was failing everything. Like teachers had lost faith. I was skipping class. My mum was stressed. There was a talk, right? In the headmaster's office with the housemaster, and my mum was my dad dialed in from Hong Kong, right? So headmaster, housemaster, mum, and dad was on the speakerphone, okay? And one by one, they like all went around the room and they're like talking about how I need to repeat year 11 if I want to go to university. Because after year 12, like, you go to university, and I really wanted to go to uni, but I was failing, okay? So Nathaniel's too far behind. That's what they were saying. He's not ready for year 12, he's failing. They go around the room. And then they go to my dad, who was next in line. Thanks for the birthday wishes, guys. I appreciate you very much. My dad was next in line, and what he said, like, it really had an impact on me, okay? He said, hang on, no one's asked Nathaniel what he wants to do. What do you think, Nat? I hear through your speakerphone, okay? All right. So I said, from what I know, the marks that you get in year 12 are the ones that count. So what's the point of me repeating year 11? I'll just pull my finger out in year 12. Okay. This is what I'm saying, a 16-year-old, and there was just silence. Okay. Nobody said a thing. And I look around at everyone's faces, and they're kind of all just staring at the speaker of the phone sitting on the desk, waiting for my dad to respond. And I was just waiting for him to say, you got to repeat year 11, right? And what he said next, I'll never forget. He says, if Nathaniel says that he'll pull his finger out, that's exactly what he'll do. He's not repeating year 11, and he hangs up. Man. I remember walking out of that room thinking, all right, okay, time to earn it. That's the power of belief. Like, you fucking believe in your kids, man. It's worth so much more to them than you could leave them like $10 million. Give them your belief. Like, it's worth so much, right? I missed parties. I studied late. I didn't go out on the weekends. I did the work that no one saw, right? By graduation, I went from failing to the most improved student in my year. I could have studied anything I wanted to in university, right? It's not mechanics, it's psychology. That's the power of belief, right? Because I knew that, if I said that to my dad and I said I was going to do it, and he said, all right, go for it, that I had to follow through, and I worked my ass off to do it. And that's often what it takes, right? It's often what it takes. So maybe that's what you need right now. Like, someone to remind you that you don't need like another course or another tactic. You just need to decide, because belief isn't a thought. And I know you can, like, if there's one thing I know for sure is everybody watching this can fucking do it. Whatever that is for you, whatever you want to do, I know you can do it. I don't know if you will do it, but I know you can do it. This is an agreement that you make with yourself, right? We're all a little broken, but last time I checked, broken crayons still color the same. Okay, so there's no excuse for not we're all adults, right? Let's make some decisions. We can make them tonight. If you make the right decision, you'll change your life. That moment of ownership, that's where everything changes, right? So I want you to remember this. You're not here just to collect information tonight. You're here to think about your identity, because until you do, all the mechanics in the world, they won't matter. Oh, I'm glad I'm getting some positive feedback from the comments, because I'm like, am I just completely like talking about going a little bit too personal with that story? But these are the things that have impacted me the most in business, and I want to share them with you, okay? So one thing that fucks us up, I'm swearing now as well. One thing that messes us up is fear. I'm not talking about horror movies, right? Fear of missing out. This is the biggest one. It's funny because there's the same thing that ruins us is the same thing that we use in marketing to actually drive people to purchase. Fear of missing out. It's the biggest motivation to purchase. But many of you, myself included, are afraid of what other people will think. Sometimes we don't even know these people. Sometimes you do. You think everyone else is winning because you go on social media and all you see is this fucking like nonsense, this highlight reel. You think everyone else doesn't make mistakes? Believe me, the ones that are really successful make loads of them. Okay, so don't tell, like, I hate it when people say, oh, you're so lucky. Like, I've failed more than you've tried most of the time. When people say, oh, you're so lucky to have, the life you have and the business and the freedom. You see, the lives of others on social media, they might look glamorous. Their relationships look like they're thriving and everything's going well, right? And you see your life and you begin to compare how their life is so much better. And this is a problem. Social media is a great tool, but if you don't use it and you let it use you, then it is a problem, okay? You think yourself, oh, if I only had what they had, I'd enjoy my life, right? Little do you know that what truly goes on outside of those reels, and I know because I know a lot of these guys that are influencers on social media, they're miserable. Like a lot of them are miserable. And that's why they're posting so much, because they need that validation. You'll never be criticized, by the way, by somebody that's further along the journey than you. If you ever notice that, like if they're not faking success and they're actually really successful, they haven't got time to criticize you. Okay. So if you're posting content and it's not good, no one's going to see it, right? The only people you're going to get criticized from are like people that have got nothing better to do than comment on people's stuff, bringing them down because they can't get off the couch and do anything. And that's easier to do that and criticize you than it is for them to do some work, right? And it might be your friend who's worried that you're going to change your values and you're going to change your outcomes and you're not going to be their friend anymore. So of course they're going to bring you down, okay? Most people are just unhappy with their own lack of progress and it's got nothing to do with you. People are going to quit on you all the time. People quit on me all the time. You have to keep showing up. You can't quit on yourself. It's fear. This is fear. People don't realize it's fear. The comparison thing is fear, right? It's fear of missing out. The truth is that if something scares you and someone told you can't do it, we might create a belief that just isn't true. A belief that says I'm too old or I'm not good enough. You're not qualified to talk about that, Nathaniel, right? Oh, I don't want to be the face of the brand. I don't want to be on camera. Bullshit. Criticism always comes from a place of insecurity. Like people who aren't achieving their goals or criticize others, right, to make themselves feel better. Their judgment is often a reflection of their own shit. It's not a critique of you. So if you remember like one thing that I'm sharing with you tonight, and I'm like, this is the first time I'm covering this stuff. So, but there's one thing, like if there's one thing that I'd love to share with you, that I'd love to imprint on the inside of my forehead is don't let other people impose their limits on you. Because when someone says you can't do something, they are actually saying that they can't do it, right? It's got actually nothing to do with you. Stop expecting people to see your vision. Be careful where you go to advice as well. Not all feedback's good feedback. A lot of people are getting feedback from people who haven't even achieved what you want to achieve, right? So stop doing that. The only real limits that we have are the ones we impose on ourselves. So don't let your beliefs, whether they're conscious or unconscious, hold you back, okay? The limits that we impose on ourselves, more so than lack of resources or environments or tactics or circumstances, Hey, do you know what? One of the biggest fears I have ever had, and I did share this story a week or two ago, but it's heights, okay? So I'm like irrational, can't even watch other people on roller coasters, can't sit in the window on planes. Like I've always been afraid of heights. I don't know why, but I decided to conquer this fear. So I went skydiving. Like, I think it's 12,000 feet and the doors open and like every cell in my body is like, this is a terrible idea. And then the guy who's like attached to you, because it's like tandem, says, I'm going to count down from 3 and then I'm going to push you out. We're going to jump, right? And I'm like, what the fuck, The second that like we left that plane, the fear was gone. Like it just vanished while I was in the air. Like I was tense, but I opened my eyes. The fear is gone, right? So the fear only has power when you don't take action. Okay. So when we landed on the beach, I had this surge of like through my nervous system And I realized that if I can do that, what else am I capable of? Okay, so this is why, like, you see people like Tony Robbins getting people to walk on hot coals, right? Because you've got to take action. You can't outthink fear. You can't sit there and procrastinate through it, you know? So what I'm trying to get at is, what's the thing that you've been avoiding because of fear? You know, there's something I've noticed over the years as well, I want to say, and I'm just going to say it straight. Most people don't actually want success. They'll tell you they do. Oh, I want $1 million business. They want the feeling of success, and quite often they just want to look successful. Do you know what I'm talking about? They would prefer to get the perception than the reality, because it's easier and it's less work. It's easier to fake people and get people's perception that you're successful, right? It's easier to post about discipline than to be disciplined. It's easier to talk about the grind than to actually do the fucking work. Now, like, I feel like I'm guilty of that too. This is one of the reasons I feel like an imposter sometimes when I talk about this stuff. But like, you know what? You've got to actually step into the power before you actually, until you're going to embody it, you've got to actually represent it. And that's not faking it till you make it, by the way. That's about stepping into the future the future you. And you know what? The LinkedIn algorithm, if you want to talk about that, rewards it. The world claps for people that pretend to be something they're not. But deep down, you know, when you're playing dress up with your potential, you can't hashtag your way to fulfillment. You can't post your way past procrastination. If you want to look successful, or do you actually want to be successful? Because the two conflict, right? You know exactly the people I'm talking about. They're the ones that have got entrepreneur like in their bio. You see them on Instagram, right? Or CEO, or whatever, and a highlight reel full of motivational quotes they didn't write. And most of the time, they're spending all the time writing these making these little reels on their phone. Oh, look at all these cool transitions I made and stuff. Like, people who are running successful businesses don't have time to do that. But these guys don't want the late nights, the hard conversations, the failure, the grind, the loneliness that comes with building a business. They just want the image, right? It's cool to be an entrepreneur these days, which is ridiculous because it is hard work and it's not for everyone, right? And I'm not saying that it's better than another path. You know, like, there's plenty of times that I wish I wasn't an entrepreneur. Believe me, it's hard. It's stressful, okay? You can't switch off, okay? It's difficult. A lot of people don't relate to your problems, okay? A lot of people don't share your wins with you, right? But if you don't want to build something, like you want to be seen building something, it's a problem. You might not need the money or whatever, but if it's because you're craving attention, you know, because you don't feel like enough, then it's a massive problem, okay? Okay, it's a massive problem. And look, if that's what you want, if you're listening and that's what you want, go for it. I mean, I don't care. Like, if you want to look successful instead of be successful, be my guest, go win the popularity contest. But the truth is that you can certainly have 500,000 followers and still be broke. I know plenty of people that are. You can build a brand that looks good online, but collapses the second that anyone talks about, like, what the conversion, like, this conversation is not for these people, right, that are looking to win the popularity contest. It's for the people that actually want to use it to build their business. Everything you do in business must map back to return on investment. Okay, so like, if we talk about identity, right? I'm getting deep here. I mean, like, the biggest chokehold, as I said at the start, the biggest chokehold on any business is its leader, right? So the psychology and skills, to be more precise, and your brain will always fight to stay congruent with that self-image, even if it's painful. And that's why people sabotage success. They say they want freedom, then you see them, you know, overworking. You know, they want love and they push people away. They want growth, and then they ghost opportunities. They don't follow up, right? Because the mind values familiarity more than happiness, and that's what's keeping you stuck. Like, you're not addicted to struggle, you're addicted to what's familiar, and that's this is a problem. And the only way you're going to break through, I've got a motivational quote on my wall here. It says, in life, you either need inspiration or desperation, and that's to inspire change, right? And quite often, unfortunately, in my experience, it's been from desperation. Okay, but you can do it from inspiration as well. You know. So let's make 2026 the year we build from inspiration, hey? You're going to hear me talking about this more and more. Like, oh, don't worry, I'll be going back to LinkedIn tactics and marketing strategies as well. But don't forget about this 80% stuff, okay? Because I'm tired of fixing the tactics and the strategies and still not getting the results for you guys, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? I can't change anything if you've got limiting beliefs. Like you will just like, this is the biggest problem. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me too. I've got ceilings that I need to break through, right? And it's always a psychological problem in my experience. Yeah, I'm a work in progress. And one of the limiting beliefs I had is how the hell can I talk about psychology on Monday Night Live, right? If I'm still learning, I'm not perfect, still growing. That's a limiting belief, right? That's why I'm here at Monday Night Live talking about something I've wanted to talk to you guys about for years, because it's my birthday, and while I've got the courage, I'm going to do it, and we'll see what the feedback's like. Let me know if you are inspired by this content, because I'll just like sprinkle it in throughout future episodes if you're down with it, if you're up for it. Okay, you've got to act like the person who already has what you want, and it's not faking it until you make it. You've got to act like the person. If you want to run $1 million company, you've got to start acting like somebody that runs $1 million company, because someone who does that makes different decisions. And if you're not making the decisions now, you're not going to get there. You can't wait for belief to happen as a result of action. If you speak to most successful entrepreneurs that have scaled past 1 million, 10 million, they'll tell you that they believed it way before it happened. This is half the reason that they've achieved it. And people talk about manifestation. It's just simple psychology. It's just beliefs. Okay. So like post like somebody who's already trusted. Think about that for a second. Are you posting to build trust because you feel like you're not trusted, or are you posting like somebody who's already trusted? Are you selling like someone who already knows their worth, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So like, you've got to act like you're already trusted, and you already know your value, because your identity is built through behavior, not thought. And when you start acting like that person, you rewire your brain and you create proof, and proof becomes belief. And no one's going to buy your stuff if you don't even believe in it, right? So you're going to need to change your environment sometimes. I know I did. You can change your mindset all you want, but if you're surrounded by people who don't, you'll eventually sink back. They always say, like, who you surround yourself with is who you become. Everybody's not your friend just because they hang out with you. Just because they hang out with you, right? Like, real situations will expose fake people. Like, the hardest times in my life is when I found out who my friends are. So pay attention during those times. You can get it's very valuable to know that, right? You can't outthink the room that you're in, which brings me to the big one. Like, you've got people you've been friends with for 10 years, family even, but every time you talk about your dreams, they flinch, okay? I told you this is going to get uncomfortable. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Think about your friends and family. When you talk about your dreams, they get uncomfortable. They might say, how might it show up? They might say, oh, don't get ahead of yourself. I'll be realistic. Or, you've changed. You're damn right I've changed. That's the point. You ever notice that? Like, they fear change, right? The moment you start leveling up, everyone who's not growing gets uncomfortable. Doesn't mean they don't care about you, okay? They just don't understand what you're doing, because your growth threatens their comfort. And if you're not careful, you will shrink just to fit in, okay? So we don't want to do that. Sometimes you have to take a step back. I'm not saying you have to kick people to the curb, especially family members. Don't do that. But sometimes you do have to take a step back. Maybe you don't call your dad every day, right? Maybe you don't call your mum. I don't know. Like, who are these people in your life? But maybe you call them like once a week, once a fortnight, okay? Because when you get to the next version of yourself that you're looking to, or achieve what you're looking to achieve, you actually might find that you inspire them to change their lives as well. Or you have the power to go back and help them, right? So stop asking people who haven't built what you want to validate how you're building it. Like, it's like giving somebody prescription glasses and expecting them to be able to see clearly through ones that were made for you, okay? That you can't expect them to see your vision. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying with the glasses? Like, oh, wow, everything's blurry. Of course they're blurry. They're not made for your eyes. You can't expect people to see what only you were given to see. They're not, they're imposing their limits. And the hardest truth is, some people aren't going to like where you're going. And when you're authentic, people aren't going to like who you are. It doesn't make them bad people, but like, maybe the chapter's over. I don't know. Okay. But I don't want you to conform just because somebody else has told you what you can and can't do. So you might have to take a step back. That's all I'm saying. Okay. And I think this conversation matters. And I know that a lot of you are getting uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable the first time I heard it. I had this mentor, right? And the first time I had lunch with him, he spent about 3 hours with me. And he said, he got out a piece of paper, right? And he said, write down, what was it? All of the names of people that if you rocked up at their city and you called them from the airport and said, and this is like a while ago before Ubers and everything, you called them up from the airport and you said, I've just landed in Sydney and I've only got enough money to make one phone call. So I'm calling you. Write down the names of everyone that you know would pick up and would be there to help you out. So I wrote them all down on the piece of paper, right? And he said, "Oh, you're not doing it properly. You've got too many names. So like cross some more out." I think I ended up with like 20 or 30 or 20 names, something like that. And then the other one was like, now if you were invisible and you were like you could turn yourself into like a visible like fly, and you could fly into any room anywhere in the world. I want you to cross out everyone who you're not 100% confident would not only not talk shit about you behind your back, but would also stand up for you if someone else spoke poorly behind about you while they were in the room. You know, and I crossed it out. I was like, I had like 12 names left. He said, you're not doing it properly, right? You know, you get down to like 4 or 5 names and you're being realistic. And he said, I want you to put an eagle emoji next to their names in your phone. And I want you to call them every week. I want you to, one of them, no, I think it was like call or email or text, but one of them you've got to call for no reason, one person a week. So you choose a different one each week, and you've got to call them for no reason just to see how they're going, not to talk about any specific topic, right? And it's interesting, these people were people I didn't call because I know they're good. The people I was actually speaking to all the time were the people that weren't on that list, who called me every day because I felt I had to, right? I cut a lot of people out of my life or stepped back from a lot of relationships after that meeting. And do you know what happened? It created space for new relationships. It was one of the most powerful things I could do because I had all this space. He also said you're not allowed to answer calls from these people when they call you. You can call them back whenever you want, but you can't answer their calls. Do you know what I mean? You can't be reactive. It's funny, man. I mean, birthdays are a funny thing. Like you know, when you're a kid, it's about like presents and cake and counting, you know, bloody how many friends you have show up and whatever. When you're 40, I mean, I'm 41. I'm already lying about my age. Did you notice that? For me, it's about reflection, you know. Happy birthday to me, sure. 1 year older, 1 year closer to needing to stretch before I sit down. But I wrote a letter to all of our clients on Saturday. I haven't sent it out yet, but I sat down and that's what I you know, on my birthday, I wrote down a letter to all my clients. And I've written out a plan for this year as well, for Monday Night Live, for our events, for Bibi Media Group. You know, I'm at the stage of life where you don't even need to blow out candles. You just quietly calculate how long the cake's been in the fridge. But I'll tell you something. This birthday, it felt very different to me, okay? Because the first time I didn't see it as getting older, I actually feel a lot clearer than I have been throughout my 30s and being 40, okay? So I spent yesterday with my daughter, her cousins. Yeah, there was definitely cake, a lot of noise, and we were running around in the paddling pool and the, what do you call it, the slippery slide, water balloons and all that. I think that growth happens in the quiet moments when no one's clapping. It happens in those moments, like when I sat down and I wrote that, like almost like a manifesto to our clients, right? If you're listening and you are a client, you'll be receiving that later this week. But it happens when you're reflecting. You might not get the breakthrough right now during Monday Night Live, but when you go away, I'm hoping that you'll think about what we've talked about, and maybe you'll have some insights as to what you can change for 2026. Every time I've come back and reinvented myself, it's normally because of desperation, all right? You know, I thought something was falling apart and I had to step up, and growth doesn't always come wrapped in comfort. Sometimes it looks a lot like chaos, right? But when you look back, it's like when I started my business with no money. When you look back, you're like, wow, that was actually such a blessing in disguise. What a lesson that was. We all want success, but what we actually want is like clarity, certainty. Certainty is what we want, right? The moment that life shakes that certainty, most people, they run away, okay? But if you lean into that uncertainty and look for what you can learn, you've got to understand something, that if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. So like this year, I'm not going to go there, but this year for me has been challenging, personally, professionally, emotionally, but I wouldn't train it for anything, because every storm has sharpened me. It's like a reference to Storm, who's like the most active in the comments. What's up, Crystal and Hazel? Thanks for jumping in there. And guys, if you're tuning in and you're not in the comments, make sure you do. And when I'm going to have to watch a replay to see how this is received, but drop in the comments because I'm coming back to all the comments tomorrow and I will make sure none of them are unanswered, okay? So when you have these setbacks, what you've got left is focus, right? Focus and standards. You know, your standards will always determine your ceiling. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. And I have raised mine a huge amount. I'm 41 years old. I've raised my standards because when you raise your standards, the universe stops sending you people who waste your time and you stop accepting anything less than what you're worth. And here's the thing. Every time you say no to what's beneath you, you say yes to what's ahead of you. You create space for that, just like I did with the Eagles, right? And not answering those phone calls. You create space for the future version of you to walk in. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. I hope it's been valuable. I know it's been valuable for me to share it. You've got to own who you are, like own what you're capable of, the standards you're setting. No one is going to come and raise them for you, unfortunately. And do you know what? Even if they could, you wouldn't get the reward out of it. The hard work is what that feeling of accomplishment comes from, okay? You've got to stop waiting for motivation or even validation. Stop waiting for someone else to give you permission. The truth is no one's coming to save you. But the good news is you don't need saving, okay? You just need reminding, and that's what we've been doing tonight, okay? Whatever you've been through. Like you made it through. Whatever you're going through right now, you're making it through that as we speak. You've walked through hell, you've come out stronger, and a lot of us forget what we've already achieved, where we've come from, okay? If you've already survived every worst day you thought would break you, then you've already proven that you can start again and you can get to the next level. So you've made it through what you've been through. So be proud of yourself. I hope that you can feel my sincerity. It sounds corny, but like, be proud of yourself. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment's right now. You know, the best moment was like 2 years ago, sure. But the second best moment is now. And if you've been playing small, if you've been dimming your light, if you think you're capable of more, or you're holding yourself back, because if you're worried about what people think, then just draw a line in the sand. Enough's enough. That's how you become unstoppable. And that's what I want for every single person who made it this far through Monday Night Live. The mechanics will come. The content, the leads, the algorithm, they all work, but none of it matters until you believe you're worth the result. So raise your standard, own your worth, jump out of the damn plane. And remember, knowledge without execution is useless. So go out there and execute, my friends. Until next week, thanks for being here on Monday Night Live. I appreciate each and every one of you, and stay legendary. Have a great week in business, guys. And thanks for coming to my motivational talk about psychology. I hope it was valuable. Peace.